Lesson 4 today of chapter 5 is going to be focusing on your distributive property. Okay, the distributive property is another property that we are going to be looking at that goes along with the properties that we had talked about yesterday in lesson 3. Okay, we're going to be using the distributive property today to rewrite some algebraic expressions in different ways to help them make a little bit more sense. Please note that you do have 2 vocabulary words in this lesson that you are going to need to fill in on your vocab map. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move to page 376 and get started on that page. The one thing that I want you to be thinking about with your distributive property is think about what the word distribute means. Okay, if I'm thinking about the word distribute or distributive, what that sounds like is I'm distributing out something that's common. Okay, for example, if you think about like a Pepsi truck that drives around, sometimes on the road we'll see Pepsi or Coke trucks or even like a Martin Brothers truck. What those trucks do is they are distribution trucks. So what that means is if I see a Pepsi truck, the job of that Pepsi driver is to go and distribute Pepsi products to different businesses. Okay, he or she is going to be distributing out the same thing, the common thing, which would be Pepsi products in that case. Sometimes, occasionally, you guys might see a Martin Brothers truck. Okay, a Martin Brothers truck would be a food distribution. Martin Brothers usually serves restaurants and schools. So what they're going to do is they are distributing out food. So the Martin Brothers truck might come to Cascade High School, distribute out the food that is needed. Okay, it may end up traveling up to Beckman. Okay, we'll distribute out food there. Maybe it goes over to Aquin. Maybe it goes to Western Dubuque High School, or maybe it stops at a restaurant. Maybe it stops at Kelmus's in town here. But the job of that distribution is to distribute out the same thing. In that case, you're distributing out food. So what we're going to be doing here is we're looking at what's the common number, or what's the common variable that is in that expression that we can take out, okay? It says the distributive property states that to multiply a sum or difference, keyword on this is going to be sum or difference, meaning that we can be adding or we can be subtracting. Okay, our job is going to be to multiply each term inside your parentheses by the number outside of it. Okay, so when I look at this one, for example, they're giving me an algebraic expression. I have A times, in parentheses, B plus C. What I'm technically thinking is I'm taking A times B and then A times C. Well, A times B is going to give me AB. My sign in here was addition, so I'm going to be adding. And then A times C would be the same as AC. Okay, same thing down here. 4 is on the outside, so I'm distributing it into each term on the inside. So 4 times 6 plus 4 times 2. Okay, and we could actually simplify that a little bit more, but if we're just rewriting it, that's all we have to do. So these are 2 examples with addition. These 2 over here are examples with subtraction. So again, you can see here pretty much the same as the top, only difference is they're subtracting. So they've written a subtraction sign. Same thing here, I have 3 that needs to be distributed into each term on the inside. So 3 times 7 minus, and then I have 3 times 5, so I've written out 3 times 5. So we're using our distributive property to rewrite expressions is what we're doing. Okay, this will eventually lead us into situations to help us solve. Okay, equivalent expressions, think about the word equivalent. Equivalent meaning equal. Okay, so your expressions 2 times x plus 2 and 2x plus 4, again what they've done is they've taken the number on the outside times each term on the inside. So 2 times x would be 2x plus 2 times 2 would give me 4. Those are equivalent expressions, okay? They're going to have the same value, all right? Example number 1, they're asking us to evaluate. Remember, evaluate means to solve for. When it says evaluate, you're actually finding the answer for that, okay? So you're thinking 8 times negative 9 plus 8 times 4. 8 times negative 9 would be negative 72, okay? Plus 8 times 4 is 32. So negative 72 plus 32, we've got a negative and a positive, so we end up subtracting. 72 minus 32 would be 40. 72 has a larger absolute value, so it's going to be negative. Okay, we're going to go ahead and take a look at problems A, B, and C on our own together here. Using our distributive property, we're going to rewrite it, and then we're going to evaluate it. Okay, so as I take a look at letter A, 5's on the outside, it's being distributed to each term on the inside. So I'm thinking 5 times negative 9 plus 5 times 11. Okay, well 5 times negative 9 would be negative 45 plus 5 times 11 is 55. I have a negative number and a positive number. Okay, so I'm going to subtract those two. So 55 minus 45 would be 10. This one has a larger absolute value and it's positive, so my answer is positive. So again, using your distributive property to rewrite and then to evaluate. Take a look at letter B. 7's on the outside. I'm multiplying it or distributing it by each term on the inside. So 7 times 10 minus 7 times 5. 7 times 10 would be 70 minus 7 times 5 is 35. Okay, so you're thinking in your mind what 70 minus 35, and 70 minus 35 would be 35. Looking at letter C, this one's a little bit different because they have our term back here, which is fine, not a problem. Okay, so technically what I'm thinking is I'm going to multiply 12 times 9 minus 8 times 9. Okay, 12 times 9, 108, minus 8 times 9, 72. Okay, so you're thinking to yourself, what is 108 minus 72? And when we subtract that out, if you need to write it on the side, that's fine. 108 minus 72 should give us 36. So there's some examples of how to use the distributive property to rewrite and then to evaluate. Let's go ahead and move on to page 377. You're going to notice on this page we're going to continue rewriting expressions. You can go ahead and take some time right now to take a look at example 2, example 3, and example 4. What I'm going to do, and example 5, and 6, 6 is with a fraction. I'm going to go ahead and go down to the bottom. What I would like you to do after you've looked at those examples above is to pause your video, take a minute, and go ahead and complete Got It problems D, E, F, and G, and then we'll come back and take a look at how to solve those. As we're taking a look at letter D here, okay, I'm thinking 6 is on the outside, so that's the number I'm going to be distributing in. So 6 times A would be 6A plus, and then 6 times 4 is going to give me, when I go to solve it, I've got 6A plus 24. Okay, and that's all the farther that we can solve that because we don't know what A is. If I take a look at letter F, since I'm over here, I'm going to take negative 3 on the outside and distribute it into both terms. Negative 3 times y, okay, minus, and then I'm looking at negative 3 times 10. Negative 3 times y would be negative 3y, okay, minus negative 3 times 10 is negative 30. And technically when we're subtracting a negative, we can actually rewrite that as a positive, so negative 3y plus 30. Okay, so there's those first two. Again, rewriting and simplifying. As I take a look at letter E, 8 is on the outside, so that's going to be distributed into both terms. So 8 times m plus 8 times 3n. So 8 times m is going to give me 8m plus 8 times 3 would be 24, and then n. I can't simplify anymore. I can't combine those because one has an m and one has an n, so we have to leave that. Okay. Then looking at the last one here, I have 1/2 times w minus 1/2 times 4. Okay. So 1/2 w minus 1/2 times 4 would be 2. Okay. So hopefully you were able to come up with the same answers as I was on the bottom of 377. One last question to take a look up here, example to take a look at, is on the top of 378. Okay, this one is giving you a word problem. Our job is to find the total cost if Mr. Ito needs to buy 9 batting helmets for the team. It's telling us that the helmets he plans to buy are $19.95 each. Okay, so we're going to find the total cost if he's gonna buy 9 of them, all right? Now, what they've decided to do is to rename 1995 as $20, okay, minus 5 cents. Reason why they're doing that is they're gonna use a distributive property to make it easier to multiply. So $20 minus 5 cents is the same as $19.95. Then, like I mentioned before, we're gonna use our distributive property to find it mentally. So we know we're buying 9 helmets. So 9 is my common number out here. Okay, so again, 9 is the common number out here, 9 times each term on the inside. So 9 times 20 minus 9 times 5 cents. 9 times 20, we can multiply that and get 180 minus 9 times 5 cents. 9 times 5, 45 cents. So now in my mind, I can take 180 minus 45 cents, and we would come up with the total cost of the helmets as being $179.55. There will be a couple of those problems on your assignment where you will be finding your cost mentally, okay? Go ahead and take a look at letter H right now on your own. Pause your video and then come back and we'll solve it. As we take a look at letter H and using the distributive property and solving it mentally, we know we have a sports club renting dirt bikes for $37.50 each, where our job is to find the total cost of our bikes if we are buying 20 of them. So one of the things that we may end up doing, first of all, is to take this $37.50 and break it down. I know I'm getting 20 bikes, so one of the things I might think of is I'm going to take 37 and add on 50 cents. Okay, so using the distributive property, I've got $20 times 37 plus $20 times 50 cents. Okay, so when you're thinking that, we know that $20 times 37, okay, plus your $20 times 5 cents, when you end up multiplying those out, we should end up with a total of $750. At this point, you can go ahead and take a look at your website and start working on your practice problems. The extra practice problems are going to start on page 381. So feel free to go ahead and turn to page 381 and then also look at your website to see which specific extra practice problems you need to do.